Everyone, welcome back to another video. It is Mark here from Digital Groove Online, and we're going to do another how-to video breakdown, this time in the style of classic house music, and it's from one of my students again. So this is the track that I'm going to break down. I'll take you through the elements, and hopefully it's a nice summer uplifter, party, hands in the air type house music, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, so there's the track. We're going to break it down. It's a little bit messy. I haven't named everything. We just sort of get through it and have it thereabouts just a couple of days ago. So I'll take you through each sound within it. And there's a group there as well, which consists of some percussion. This one here has more of the piano elements. I've used, I don't even know how to say this, Sycon or faux Sycon, if you want to call it that. It's an acid machine, and we have sort of taken elements from the chords and the piano, and we've turned that into a little arp as well. And we've got the bass line, we've got some effects, and at the bottom here we have some atmospheric sounds as well. So let's just start off with the drums first of all. I'm just going to bring this to the top, and I've picked a solid kick just from one of my sample packs and loaded that into a sampler. Now the kick is very, very short, which is great. So it's got a nice punch to it, a nice weight, and it just cuts through the mix. And I'll just play that for you now. Punchy, a little bit of weight to it, but it's not overly long, so it allows all the other elements just to play nicely with the short kick punching through. I did have an LFO on here just to make sure that the kick does not bleed over into where, you know, the bass or the hi-hats should play, but it is short enough. If I just turn this on here, it's not actually going over that line anyway, so I was happy enough just to turn that off and leave it as it is, but that's the reason that it was there. There were some other kick drums that have loaded in, so I like to basically, if I just double click inside here, load up lots of kick drums inside a drum rack and play the music and just highlight everything and move it up and down, and, you know, cycle that through, and you'd be surprised the kick drums that you may not have picked yourself the first time round, they may sound really nice with the track that you're starting to build up. So I highly recommend building up some of these little packs here of all drum kits and loading kick drums in there. And then once you're playing your track, you can cycle through them and just see how that sits. So I settled on this one, nice and punchy, nice and low, and that just cuts through the mix nicely. So I'm just going to rename this one because I haven't done any housekeeping. We'll call that percussion group, bring that up towards the top. And we will open that one and solo it. So I'll just do one at a time. No processing done on that, just looking at the group. I've got a filter which I can control over time, but no processing on this at all. Just a nice clean clap. The next one underneath that is more of a shaker sound. So there's a bit of processing on this one. I like to use erosion. Erosion, you can click these buttons along the bottom and they give you little textures of white noise, and you can move this XY dot around the place and get different tones, I suppose. So if I do that now, you can hear that it adds different textures along the way there. And then after that I have a vocoder with sort of the low end swept out of it, set to the noise carrier here. If I turn this off and on again, it should brighten that shaker up. That's it off. And that's it on. So you can see it gives it a nice splashy sound, a nice shaker that goes over the top of the clap. So let's have a listen to that. So the MIDI of the clap, sorry, is just on the second beat and the fourth beat the whole way across there. There's nothing rhythmic about it. It just keeps that groove locked tight. And inside the shaker, it is just on the off beat as well. I just click here, I should be able to cycle through to see where, let me just see where this is, that one there at the bottom. So if I click on this pad, go to classic mode, no, it's pretty much standard there. I haven't really changed anything at all. And you've probably noticed again, I've loaded a lot of samples into this and used the same sort of idea when I chose the kick drum, where we can cycle through different sounds as we're playing it. Really, really good. You should try that if you haven't done that already, and just use the drum rack to do that. I've then filled it out with a couple of loops below that. So let's have a listen to this one. It's more of a shaker. I really should roll off some of the low ends on that. And with the other sounds then, that sounds like this. The other sound after that I've used is a ride loop. A pretty standard one. And as I say, this isn't a finished track just yet. It's almost there, but we'll just roll that off as well, and we'll fix those little things in the middle. Just how I would do that. Let's see. Take one of these here, and we can pop that there, and hopefully that should sound a bit better. Yeah. Okay, so if I copy this back to here, yeah, that's a better idea there. It has it at the start of that. It's just the way I've set the loop up. Yeah, that's cool. Let's fix that up as well. So all together with that, it sounds like this. So starting to fill up that percussion loop, and I'll play it all together with the kick drum in a second. And we've got a stripped back drum loop as well here. It's just side chaining there a little bit with the LFO. And we've just got below that some classic 909 crisis, which could do with a bit of EQing, but we'll pop the kick drum in now and see how that comes together. Hopefully that just takes a bit of the edge off it, thinning it out a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so that's the percussion. Crisis, a little bit of a groove, claps, hi-hats, some shakers, and a few percussion loops with a fatter kick drum in behind that there. Okay, so let's scroll down and see if there's any other percussive sounds that we might want to take a look at. We've got ride cymbals down here. That's a little bit later on in the track, but pretty standard. It just brings it up another level there. A sample from a sample pack. There's a little drum loop here as well. Actually bring these up too. These both seem to be drums. Should have really tidied this up before I come on, but I haven't recorded in 2 weeks, so I just wanted to take that out of that group again. I just wanted to make sure that I sort of uploaded something. I've had a few emails through the website. Okay, so let's have a listen to this part here. And then this one here. It's a little bit of a broken loop, that one. Looks like I had a side chain on it at some stage. We'll keep that off for now. I've just rolled a lot of the lows off. And when we play that together, again with the crashes, and then we'll drop that kick drum back in just to see how full the loop is. Quite cool. Okay. So this is sort of an acid emulator. I call it Psychotron, but it is obviously not called Psychotron. I just pick presets and play it around with it, but how I came up with the idea of what this looks like is that I took the chords of, let's see if I open this up here. So I took the chords of the piano. Okay, so basically took the chords out as far as they could, just straightened all those out, and then put an arpeggiator, a MIDI arpeggiator, onto the chord itself. And then I applied this acid machine here and played about them with the arpeggiator settings, so it just plucked it a little bit. And I might do a full video on that because it's quite cool as to how you generate these sounds. But the reason it doesn't look the way it does right now is because I re-recorded back in as MIDI, and this was the output of doing that. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comments, and I'll set up that little I suppose channel and record that back in and show you how you can record your arpeggiator back in as MIDI. When you record it back in as MIDI, then you have the freedom to move the notes around and create your own patterns and melodies off that as well. So there's a couple of these, so they're all the same pattern, but I've used a couple of different versions of this just so that I think there's one down here as well. Yeah, I'll move that up as well. This is actually just playing the straightforward piano chords on this one, and this is more what the arpeggiator come up with. So we'll play them individually and let you hear them. So this is the first one. So it's quite nice, it gives it a groove. It's nice at the start of the track as it's building up. And then we have this. And then I thought it needed a wee bit more, so I done this one. So just going to stop there. This one's a little bit more complex. I've actually taken the chords of the piano groove and applied the arpeggiator to it here, as you can see. And then after that we have the acid plugin. I've got a Volcano 3 filter by ProQ. And then I've got the overdrive here, and then I've EQ'd it heavily. So if I turn this off, all apart from, let's see, it needs this here to play it, and the arpeggiator in front of it. Just turn the Volcano 3 and the EQ off. If we just group that by hitting Control G, we can turn that off. You can see with the overdrive, the filter and the EQ's adding. Okay, and then we turn it on. It's quite nice. Now, there's one other thing I noticed in this. I've got some automation on a send and return that takes one of the chords and delays it over and over again. So if we just hit A to bring up the automation lane, and then we have a look at our mixer here, we can see from the drop down that we have done a long delay feedback on a send and return. So if I just go back to my return track here, it's this one here. So basically it gets fed into here and delays over time. So if I play this here, and once it gets to here, it does a huge delay on that chord. Still sort of delaying over the top of that as well. And then it does it again over here. Which is quite interesting. So all it's doing is sending it at full capacity across to the return channel and creating that delay whilst the dry audio still plays. And the settings for that are long delay here. So I've EQ'd the delay so that it's not overpowering on the main dry channel, and I've sort of side chained it against itself as well, so the delay ducks out of the way once a lot of it's playing and sort of like stays in the background a little bit and comes up whenever the notes stop playing. And I've used color copy as the delay unit here. Now all together, if we play those three again, and you can hear what I mean with the delay. And we'll drop the kick drum in and hear it here. I suppose the next important thing after that to sort of gel that sort of groove together would be the bass, and the bass is down here, and it should be from memory made up from 2 serum. I just pop this here above the acid, and we'll rename that bass, and we'll have a listen to that. So the first one, this is the pattern here. Okay, so it goes from C sharp, G sharp, F sharp, and just sort of repeats itself over and over again. And I think there's just presets from within inside Serum and I used, and it did. I'm not too sure what pack this is from. I have quite a few from Serum 1 that I've just sort of brought over, and I like to use those from time to time. It's a basic Waves one actually by Bound to Divide. And it sounds like this here then. So and it's just quite repetitive. It just repeats itself over and over again. On the actual group channel, we've just got an auto filter that we can sweep the low ends out over time to create tension. On the channel itself, there's no processing. That's the raw sound from the preset. And then the second one here has a little bit more low end cut out of it. So it's probably a little bit more stereo than that. So again, I've got a side chain on from LFO tool here. Just cutting the extreme lows out there, playing it together. And there obviously is a little bit of automation on that too. So let me just hit A. I heard it there. Let's see. Well, there's not. So it must be actually inside the synth itself. And there it is there on LFO tool 2. So when that's opening up, it's opening the cutoff. You can sort of hear that coming up and down again. So playing the two of them together with the percussion. Okay, and we'll drop the kick drum in and the acid. So far it's starting to build up nicely, and we're getting to I suppose the main meat of the track now, which is the piano chords, the piano house chords itself, and the vocal. We're getting down towards the bottom now. So the piano chords, I can't take all the credit for it myself. I've used a scale plugin, and I've used a MIDI plugin, a chord plugin here. So the scale keeps it in the key, and then we have the MIDI chord plugin as well, which sort of shifts the note 3 semitones, 7 semitones, and then the third one is 12 semitones down there. This is actually inside Ableton Live, and I'll show you how this works. It's quite cool. If you're into this style of music, we'll just insert a MIDI track, and we will insert, it's called House of Chords, I think, and it's under MIDI effects. No, House 4 to go, right? So we'll drop that on to the MIDI channel itself. You can see it comes up here. For house sounds, I like the M1 piano, so we'll bring that in as well. And I just like to mute these ones here, and then we will load the Korg M1 house piano. So now it has the plugin on, the piano sound, and it's going to generate a chord whenever we actually play one note. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit and show you what I mean. So I'm going to hit, let's see, A sharp. Okay. And then C sharp. So you can, it's really, really cool. So you can experiment with your house chords there, and it doesn't have to be the M1 piano. You can also use the built-in piano on Ableton. So if I just go to all and type in grand piano, maybe there's no space in it. Maybe it's under instruments. There we go. And we drag the grand piano in. And I have Ableton Live Standard. It's not even the full one. It has all the features, but it doesn't have all the full plugins and audio effects units. But it has the full features that Ableton Live Suite has. So same thing again. You've got settings there. You can brighten it up. Glue reverb. Hard or soft. So that's quite cool as well, and that's built into Ableton Live, both of these features, the grand piano sound and the house 4 to go. But as I say, I like to use the M1, and this is what I done. So I set this up and set it to the scale of B major, and then just started playing around with that, and this is what I come up with. So this bottom one's actually an octave higher, just to give it a little bit of a lift, and the one above it is the lower one. So the two of them together. Okay, so by using the scale plugin and the MIDI chord generator, I'm able to just sort of draw it in as one note with that rhythm. And I applied the same technique as I did with the acid synth above, where I recorded it back in as MIDI into the channel below, and then I turn these off basically and bring the MIDI clip up in, and I can into that channel, and I can see what chords were generated rather than just playing the one note as I showed before. When you hit one note, it plays the chord. But we can record that back in and see what that looks like, and then you've got the freedom to move those MIDI notes around and create your own I suppose new chords, or in a different key, or whatever it might be, or some notes that you don't like you can remove. So that's what the chords sound like. If I just hit solo those, we'll just start bringing them in one by one. So it's starting to come together there. As you can see, the frequency ranges are starting to fill out, and we just have a couple more to go through here, which is the vocal, the playground sound, I call it. It's a sample just taken from Splice of ambient noise in the background. It can be children playing in the playground, it can be a cafe noise in the background, and that just adds atmosphere as well. So the vocal itself, if I go down to here, is a classic vocal track from the 90s. The music is moving. I think Corina had done a hard trance sort of mix of it on Tidy Tracks years ago, but the original was many years before that again, which was a house track. So you've probably heard this sample before. It's actually on Splice now, and there is a pack called Rave Nation, I think it is, and I haven't got Splice open to even show you, but it's called Rave Nation, I think. And it has all these sort of classic sounds from the 90s, and I got the vocal from there. It's just pitched 3 semitones and timed a little bit differently and put onto Complex Pro. So the vocal itself just sounds like this.
The rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. My rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more. The rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. My rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more. The rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. The rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more.
So it's a little bit gritty as well, the vocal. I did have a little bit Alter Boy on it just to try and take the formant down a bit, but it didn't sound too good at all, so I took that out. I've just compressed it with gentle squeeze. Mixed in key was just to look at the vocal key itself, because I wasn't sure whether it was in the right key. And then Virtual Mix Rack, I have a subscription with Slate Digital, and that allows you to use a lot of their mixing plugins. I've just used the Airy vocal preset. It was just being hit too hard there. As I say, I haven't really mixed this down or anything yet. It's just there or thereabouts to have it played and have people listen to it and just sort of pass comment on it. So I thought I would do a video of this and show you. So let's play that together with the pianos.
The rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. My rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more. The rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. My rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more. The rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. The rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, let the rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more.
Okay, so we're nearly there with most of the elements at the minute. As I say, it's just the most kicking part of the track. There is a little bit at the start, and an intro and a build up. You know, so it's quieter at the start. So. Okay, but I just thought I would pick the sort of the most kicking part of the track to run through with you. So the last couple of sounds are effects. So a snare roll. It's from the Tool Room. I love the Tool Room stuff. I really, really do. Tool Room. So it's just shorter samples with different fades on that, and then this one's like sort of the tail end where it does a rhythm, which are really, really good. I just use the same sample and chop it up a little bit differently. Then we have a down sweep here, Cashmere, which is quite cool. Then underneath that we have the ride cymbal, which I showed you earlier on. I've just rolled some of the extremely highs off there. And the last thing, so the playground thing was something it's showing you, so have a listen carefully and you'll hear the playground people in the background. I love adding stuff like this in the background. Just little things catch your ear in the headphones and you're not quite sure what it is. We hear.
The rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. My rhythm is grooving, DJ wants some more. The rhythm is grooving, let me take you on the floor. My rhythm is grooving.
And then on this part here, it's just this sample that I found in close to the key that we were working on. And it just sounded good. I don't think it's even in key. B major and A flat major, but I quite liked it. It is, a lot of it is filtered out. And I have EFX fragments on it just to give it that little granular feeling. You can hear the sort of the playground noises coming through, but it just fills frequencies out. You don't really notice it at all in the track. It just sort of fills those spaces out. Now and again you hear little things in the background from those. So I encourage you to try and use stuff like that in your tracks. Vinyl noise, you know, ambient noise, playground noise, cafe noise, you know, waves, birds chirping, things like that. It all adds texture in the background. So all together then that just sounds like this, and we'll play it just before the breakdown builds up. There is one other element I used actually that's not in that part, and it was to try and give it that old school sound. I tried to mimic something like Sometimes I Feel Like Throwing My Hands Up in the Air, that track there that has that little arpeggiated chord. This is the breakdown as we come into it. You'll sort of hear it come in here, and it's just a chord with the arpeggiator turned on at the bottom and a lot of it filtered off. So listen to this. The long delay is still going on. We'll just turn that off for now. So I hope you enjoyed that little track breakdown. I mean, nothing is overly complicated there. It's just thinking about, you know, what does that classic house track sound like? What can I add to it? How can I change the direction of it when I bring the samples in? Don't always settle for the first thing that you hear that sounds good. It's all about sample selection. We've let a few people hear this and they're really, really into it. A nice little radio edit of this would be quite cool as well. And just see if we can give it out to a couple of DJs. It's not overly complicated, as I say. It's sound selection and thinking about in your head, does that sound like an old school classic club style track? Is the sound right within that mix? As I said, he's mixed down and mastered, and probably a little bit more work in between. But the process was just over probably 6 hours or so. We put this together, just picking samples and sounds and generating those chords and ideas. And it was really, really enjoyable, I have to say. The student is very happy with it as well. So that'll do us for this week. I'll maybe do another video next week on a different style of track. Let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular you'd like me to try and create and just break down for you. If you are interested in some one-to-one help or some track feedback or whatever it might be, hit me up on the website, send me a message. I'm happy enough to oblige and have a chat with you. And I'll see you all next week.